now, and I am so excited. My two coaches for today, Amanda Kaufman and Chris Lavelle. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you much.
Thank you very much.
I love that you two managed to fit yourselves into this box. That in itself was a feat, wasn't it?
It's a good thing we're married so we can snuggle up close in this time.
I'm used to being pretty close to him.
I love that, which launches us right into where I want to start with you two. You're both coaches. You work together.
Yep.
You have children, and you're sheltering in place together, right?
That's right. In fact, they officially gave us notice today in our area. It's now official. No going out. Everything is off limits outside.
Yep.
Okay, you guys, bring it on. How now?
Well, we have 4 kids, which is kind of like a million kids, especially when you're quarantined inside the house to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Now, fortunately, in this case, the 2 youngest are really the ones that are most with us at this time. And so it does get a little hectic around here, and especially with everybody quarantined, schools are closed. So now we get to run the coaching business with the kids being homeschooled with the assistance of the local ISD. Mm-hmm. So now we kind of have to share time running the business, coaching people, and now schooling the kids.
And our kids are young. So Alden is 6 and Braxton is 2.5. So they've got a lot of energy. They're all about this life.
Oh, they're loving it.
Yeah, they're digging it. They're getting lots of time with mommy and daddy. But yeah, Chris is Mr. Teacher Dad.
Amanda's taking on the vast majority of the work in the business, and then we work together to bounce ideas off or take calls. If we do lives or trainings, then we work together on those for the training, so we can both be a part of them.
Wow, yeah. You both sound so cheerful about. I was just saying before we went live, I was saying this is what I love about coaches, right? Like anybody else would be like, oh, I can't stand the kids, but you guys are like, I love that. I love that.
There might be the occasional beer involved.
there might be a daytime beer or 2 involved. But, to that point, I think that it's not the first time that our family has, had moments where we were, grounded or changes in regular scheduled programming.
Yeah.
Like when I was pregnant with our youngest, at the time I was working a job that involved traveling 46 weeks a year.
Every single week.
And I had a complication with the pregnancy that caused me to not be able to travel like that. I needed to stay home, and I was kind of grounded and had to work from home. And, so I kind of had this moment a few years ago where I was kind of isolated and, having to find ways to contribute from home the best I could. And, it's not the first time that we've kind of had to get creative with childcare either. Yeah. We've had nannies not work out, and we've had changes in employment and things like that. So, sometimes not our first rodeo in some ways.
Yeah, sometimes you have to adjust and adapt to it. And so, for example, the way we're doing it now, Amanda is just a workhorse in the coaching business.
I've never been busier.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she is just driving the execution there, and I'm the nurturer in the business. So my role is more social nurturing and otherwise. And so I take that role on here at home even a little more so she can focus on the genius side that she's so good at.
Oh, you're sweet.
Oh, that was sweet. Hey, Gabino. Hello. Gabino's joining us.
Hi, Gabino.
Yeah. So tell me, because obviously, you guys are coming from this positive place. I mean, I can see you've dealt with these things before. Are there special mindset tricks that you're amping up right now, or tell me what you're doing to really support yourselves?
For sure. So I'm a certified high performance coach myself. Both Chris and I are core energy coaches. So that's another certification. For sure, intentionality is just the word of the day. So being really intentional about bedtime, morning time, having a morning routine, having time to center, is the word I would choose. Some people meditate with that. Some people have other rituals they might go through to just get really present, because most anxiety and doubt and fear is rooted in the future. And the one thing we don't get to know is the future, but what we can know is how we're showing up right now in this moment. So we don't spend a lot of turns, worrying about when's school going to open up again, or when's this going to happen, or, getting answers to those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
But I think that comes from just intentionality. It's like, right, this is what we need to do right now.
Wow. Yeah, Gabino is saying that. He's just underscoring intentionality, so important. And when you guys are talking about that, is it intentionality for the two of you, or also for your children and their schedule and their life?
For all of it, absolutely.
All of
Especially when you're all quarantined together, you have no choice but for all of you to find a little bit of a pattern, a routine, some intentionality, or else anyone can kind of cascade into effects on the others very rapidly in a small enclosed place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even like the way that we're talking with the kids, like we are talking about what's going on in terms they can understand, and helping them to, feel loved and feel cared about and secure, and just taking an extra intention around our interest in what they're doing and how they're thinking about things and how they're experiencing it. It's just, conversations about dinosaurs and Jurassic Park and, dinosaurs and all the things that they're interested in.
Dinosaurs
might be.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly. Absolutely.
You know what? That is beautiful. And I'm taking that to heart. Not just, I have a 20-year-old, so he's kind of a child, but also for all our relationships, right? Like, isn't this a time to bring that intentionality? And like you're saying, to really be listening. Oh, what is on this person's mind right now, or on their heart? What do they need to talk about? That's beautiful.
Exactly. And I think the worst thing that we could do as parents is instill a lot of like fear and anxiety in our kids.
Yeah.
So we're emphasizing, the fun, and actually we do this as parents anyway, but really with our 6-year-old in particular, just acknowledging like, dude, you really showed up to your homeschooling lesson today, or you were to your little brother today, and just like pointing out the things that they're doing really well, just like we would in any time. But I think, again, just like that extra intentionality, that it's really important to do that. I think it's, even as grown adults, it's easy to default to, my clients were using the words bad habits this week. Yeah. And I call the phrase of comfort habits. They're not bad habits, they're comfort habits. Right. And these are things that you default to when you're not feeling comfortable. So, whether it's, overeating or overindulging on the Netflix or what have you, it's just your brain trying to say, hey, I'm uncomfortable right now. What can we do to help make me feel comfortable?
And sometimes it's okay to indulge that a little bit, as long as it's not getting in the way of other things that you need or want to accomplish.
Yeah. And I started switching the term from bad habits, because I think there's so much negativity going on right now. The last thing that we need to do is label ourselves as bad as we experience it.
Oh, hallelujah. I love that. Comfort habits.
Comfort habits. And just be aware of it and bring extra intentionality around, like, okay, I'm having a comforting moment.
And the way we apply that, for example, with the kids is, while we are now doing homeschooling by requirement, it was not something we were doing before. And so we kind of apply our own structure to it, where we spend a little time doing studying, and then they have some comfort fun where we play a game or play with toys or do Legos or watch a short movie or something like that to kind of break it up a little bit. Since we are able to go in our backyard, we might go in our backyard or to the playground that's kind of isolated next door. So things like that we can do to help them have a little bit of structure, but still have a little bit of fun. That helps a lot. And so to Amanda's comments earlier, some of the routines we use are definitely getting them to bed at regular hours.
Yeah.
Regular hours.
Hyper regular.
Yep. Normal eating schedule and healthy foods, things like that, just like we're trying to do for us to help us manage the stress of the situation. So keeping that routine, getting sleep, things like that, that helps a lot. Regular shower.
Yes, shower.
Regular showers.
Shower. I really love this, because again, you're talking about your family and your family structure, but these things can all be applied to everybody. The routine, the healthy eating, that whole thing too, and I want to talk a little bit more about this because I think you're right. I think I've said this a lot, that it's like, the term hunker down to a lot of people means, stock up on, beer and potato chips and Netflix. And again, not judging that, but I think what you guys are saying is to look at, our intentionality around it. Am I doing, does this feel good to me? How much I'm doing this? Or like Chris said, are there other things that are calling to me that I'm not doing because I'm doing these?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's just a little extra consciousness about your experience. And I think our default when we have a lot of uncertainty and anxiety is to not look at it, right? And just say, that's scary, I'm not going to look at it. And I think that you can be very intentional about it. And does your best self want to watch some Netflix? Maybe, but does it but does it need to stay there for days and days? And I think that there's a lot of opportunity in being at home more. Like I was saying before this call, in a weird way, I've kind of been working towards being able to have a life where I don't have to leave my house if I don't want to. And that's just a career that I made. And part of it is because I used to travel 46 weeks a year. I know what it's like to be always going. And this downtime, I said to Chris this morning, I'm like, I don't want people to get sick. I don't want that to be the ramification, but I have to admit, I kind of love the slowdown.
Wow.
And just being at home.
And that works really well for Amanda because she's an introvert and she's been training for this her entire life.
What about you, Chris?
I am most definitely an extrovert. And I have to admit, I'm climbing the walls at times.
Yeah, well, say more. I mean, this is great too. Like, wow, first of all, just for people to get a sense of like their own sense of, do I need to be out with people? Do I want that? But also as a couple, how do you navigate that?
Well, first off, I get a lot of patience from my lovely bride, which is always nice.
Surprise.
I pointed out to him the other day, I'm like, so you are feeling bad because you're extroverted. You need people. You need to be out here. And I'm like, I'm an introvert trapped in here with you.
So I'm like the little kid that's kind of looking out the window, kind of wistfully watching the other kids play, like, beating on the glass.
Right. Or walking by me like every 30 seconds. What you doing?
Can I help? Do you need something?
Are you okay?
Things like that.
Well, so really, you're laughing about this, but I can imagine that that's kind of tough, right?
It can be. It's kind of crummy at times, absolutely. But I think that's probably a good thing that I am actually doing the schooling with the kids primarily because they need breaks often, and then I get breaks often, so I get to change context. And while it's not as good as interacting with other adults face to face, it's acceptable. We'll just put it that way.
Well, Chris, what? Oh, and I want to say hi to Boudreaux, who stopped by. Hi, Boudreaux.
Hey, Boudreaux. Nice to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see him. Well, Chris, I want to know from you, what are you doing to get that extroverted adult, communication?
That's a good question. And, we actually, for all that we're now talking about kind of being hunkered down, so to speak, we've functionally been kind of shutting it down to do this for almost the last 3 weeks because we kind of started to see at the beginning of March that this thing was coming.
Right.
And so we just kind of accidentally fell into it a little bit and started limiting our exposure otherwise. Right. And so I've been kind of ramping down my extroverted tendencies over the last 3 weeks to this point. But having mentioned that, your question was, what am I kind of doing? Well, certainly there are some other avenues. It's not quite as good as face-to-face for me. I like getting out, but I like playing Dungeons and Dragons. So I have some friends, that regularly get together. And in fact, just last weekend, we were supposed to all come to our house for the game.
We're the resident game house, and we had to say, sorry, guys, we're not comfortable
we
with that.
Couldn't do that. But we found an online solution. And so we used an online tool to get all of us together virtually, and we played our favorite normal once-a-month Dungeons and Dragons games virtually for about 5 hours. And it was great fun. And I was surprised at how well it worked. I could keep that up for a couple of months easily.
and you will you? I mean, you will keep doing it.
Absolutely.
I just
Absolutely.
have nothing to do, but I just played Dungeons and Dragons for the first time a couple months ago. My son was
all right.
I loved
There
it.
you go.
I
Now you
know
can try all kinds of online options with it too. So I've got other games I'm joining as well that way. So that'll help get me a little bit of adult interaction.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I'm doing, since I'm the nurturer in the business, so to speak, I spend a decent amount of my time online, especially in social media and our various coaching properties, if you will, kind of nurturing students and clients, and otherwise in the social media world, kind of doing a little bit of that nurture social media touch through, in my case, humor. Humor is what I really enjoy using. You've probably noticed that yourself.
I
And so
might have noticed that from you.
but yeah, I do a lot of that to help kind of give me that extroverted kick I need, because now I get to at least interact superficially, virtually, with people virtually.
Well, and that's the perfect transition to, because I was just about to ask you how you're taking care of your clients during this time. And that's one of the answers, right? Obviously, your humor, I'm sure, is adding so much.
Not gonna sugarcoat it. We were worried that, there would be this mass exodus and everybody would quit getting coaching, and, now's not a good time. I haven't been as busy as this past week or so as we've been. And it's because people are starting to think about their future, and they're starting to think about how they need to be showing up. And so this is the time they want to talk to their coach, right? This is the time that they want to think through and, be empowered and just have that sounding board. It's been pretty incredible. Like, I don't think, this has been a busy, busy time.
Well, if you're a coach and, for example, you've been waiting to get your virtual game going, so to speak, your online game going, I got to tell you, there has never been as much online activity as there has been over the last week.
Wow.
In ever.
Like ever.
So, I mean,
in the history of ever.
I mean, you thought the internet boom was big in the late 90s? Never as big as now in the last week.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So I love this, right? So you're offering, it sounds like, as much support as ever, and maybe even more so because, like you're saying, people are coming to you because they're looking to the future, right? They're not.
They are trying to
Absolutely.
prepare. Maybe they're a little shaken up, not sure how it's going to look, and
that's
feeling uncertain.
Yeah.
And that's super understandable. But I think that's like, this is the time for a coach to rise, because a coach is really helping someone take power over their present to set up for a better future. Right?
That was great. Say that again.
So a coach really helps someone claim their power in the present to set up for a better future. Right? Yeah. So this is a time for coaches to make it known, like what I've been telling, my colleagues and my clients and everybody is, I'm like, this is a time for friendship. This is a time to be connecting. And again, coming back to that theme of intentionality, like, be intentional with showing up and connecting with people. I hate the term social distancing. It's physical distancing, people. It's physical distancing. Be socially intentional and socially connected. I think about some of the strongest friendships that I have. They came under fire. Like, it's when we went through stuff together.
That's when people really, really draw together and form those deep relationships.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
And as you're talking about this, I'm really appreciating, I love you guys, right? Typically, I only see you. Typically, I see you at events, right? Because we're at the live events together. Well, look at us. I mean, we could have been doing this all the time, right? And I'm so grateful that I'm not grateful that, it took this crisis, but I am grateful that what happened was I remembered, hey, I've been wanting to talk to coaches on Facebook Lives for a long time. This is the time. Oh, hi, Johnny.
This is the time.
And
this is the time.
And it's so wonderful. You're right. The terms, I agree totally with social distancing. It's awful. It makes it feel like we all need to isolate, but we don't.
Yeah, I mean, you can't catch it over the internet. And I think, like, this is it is a terrible thing, and I just feel like every experience you have, there's two sides to the coin. Like success has an ugly side too. You know, like when you get successful, you know, I talk a lot about business and coaching businesses. Well, when your practice is really full, guess what? You're on all the time, baby, right? And so you get the benefit of that good thing, but there's drawbacks to that success. And I think, you know, on the flip side, when we experience pain, when we have a traumatic thing experienced in our lives, I'm not saying you gotta love the pain, right?
Yeah.
And there's also always another side to it, you know, always another side. And if you're willing to look for that gift, it's there. It's always there.
Oh, I love that. I was just talking to someone earlier today about that because, you know, my world is a lot about celebration, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I am often saying that in my own life, depression is the other side of the coin for me. You know, I come from depression, but they're like almost like the depth of the depression that I had in my life has allowed for all of this space for celebration and love and delight. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. We've both been through the same kind of thing you're describing there. We've been through and probably will go through in the future some aspect of depression. I think a lot of adults go through that. And so finding those high points and recognizing them as such, and also recognizing they will come again, is certainly a key part of helping with that process. I'd say something else I've learned from my lovely bride that she's helped with a little bit is this idea of action, especially in the middle of depression. I'm no therapist. I'm not an expert in depression other than having experienced it myself multiple times. But what I'll say is when I look back at it, the depression was often very rooted in action, meaning it prevented me from taking action.
Yeah.
But as I was able even to take a little action, for example, right now, take a little action towards working, say, on an internet coaching business, if you're a coach that hasn't done that yet. That can be in a cascade of actions. Strangely enough, the more action you take, the less you feel, at least in my case, the depression, because it's fighting against that tendency to inaction.
Rex is on and Joni's on. Oh, so good.
Look what Joni, do you guys know what Joni means when she says Peggy King Hoover Dan Hoover?
I think she might have tagged some friends.
Oh, I thought it was a code for you too.
No.
Oh, I was living in my own little fantasy circus world where that was some fun code. That is great. Hi, you guys. Hi, Rex. Yes. And I love this so much, what you're saying about the tiniest. Thank you, Joni. The tiniest of actions, right? And in my mind or in my experience is that tiny action pivots us. Like I always use the term, you know, the darkness and the light, because light means a lot to me, but it's that smallest pivot where suddenly that little action step, and now I'm headed toward the light, you know, and that makes all the difference.
Shifts your perspective a lot.
We just did a 5-day action challenge with the coaches that we work with. And on day 3, we revealed our secret weapon. And our secret weapon is the bare beep minimum. We call it the BAM.
The bare ass minimum. I'll say it.
He said it.
How boldly go there.
He's boldly going where I did not go before.
We call it the BAM.
The BAM.
And the BAM is not this super high. It's not way up here. It's a low action.
We lower the bar.
Because if you get the bar lower, paradoxically, that's the one that you can consistently hit in action. And the more you hit it and have consistent success with it, well, then you can move the bar a little higher. You get consistent success, you move the bar a little higher.
And you
just keep layering the actions.
So just to show you like how that works, when Chris decided to join me kind of in the front office of the business over a year and a bit ago, it was like a year and a quarter ago, we said, we're going to commit to going live every day, Monday through Friday.
Ooh.
And we started that in Miami a little over a year ago.
And we said, that's the
kind of thing. And it was not over scripted. It was like, we're just going to go stream of consciousness every day, Monday through Friday. And we'll do it every week.
Yeah. And we've done it ever since.
Yep.
for over a year and
Get
a
out
quarter.
of here.
Every single day we've gone live.
Monday through Friday.
So going live for 10 minutes, it's no big deal, right? Now that you've done it.
Wow, yeah.
But imagine the impact of, like, on your Facebook page or wherever you're posting your video. If you do that every single day, now when someone checks us out, they're like, whoa, there's over 300 videos here.
I was impressed with you guys before, but already I am so way more impressed with you.
It's like the tiny thing. It's the little thing.
But
That's
you see,
the secret.
to Amanda's point, we set that low bar that we could consistently do because we knew we'd like to spend time with each other. And we knew we could just jump on FaceTime and just be ourselves going live. And there we go. And that was something we could do consistently. It was that low bar, and that led to another hurdle and led to another hurdle. And we continued to move it up from there.
Yep.
I love, Rex is asking if we've paused. I hope we haven't paused, Rex, but you can't hear me if we have paused, but
there's a lot of folks using the internet pipe, so to speak. So I'm sure
know. So let's go back to people who may
oh, Christy Konsler. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Oh, and Aaron too. I didn't see Aaron. Aaron joined us. I love that. Oh, hi, Rex. We are back. I mean,
we just shared the best part, Rex. So
yeah, Rex.
You'll get it in a recording, buddy.
The mystery of the whole universe was revealed while we were gone. I want to go back. So I love BAM. I love BAM. So let's say, because we're all coaches, right? So we're kind of like used to living in this world. Let's just say there's someone who right now, they're like you. They're home with their kids. They're just trying to survive this. You know, what might be a tiny little,
maybe went back in time to before I learned all this personal development stuff.
Yeah.
And then, like, my current me now could go back in time and, like, whisper in my former self's ear, here's the one, could you just do this one little thing? Right?
Yeah.
It would be to set an alarm for bedtime.
Ooh.
That's the thing I would choose out of all the personal development world. If there was just one thing I could whisper back to my former self, that's what I would do. I would say, you know, pick a time, 9 p.m. or 10 p.m., set an alarm on your phone.
It goes on me, but I heard